And those kind of moments, like when I got signed by David Hay, I'll be honest, I think that's when my ME slowly just went away, because I was in a room full of amazing, inspirational, talented, ambitious people, and the energy just lifted my energy. And what that showed me was, actually, I can conquer this. When you have an illness, it's not for life. You can heal yourself from within, and that's what I managed to do.
Hi guys, Ruben is here with Minboso, and today I'm very excited because we have a very special guest, Ruqsana Begum.
Hi,
that is how
Ruben.
you say your name, right? I've known you all this time, but I'm just making sure. How are you doing?
I'm great, thank you for having me.
Oh, welcome, you're welcome. So, for those people that may not know who you are, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I am a former world champion for Muay Thai kickboxing.
Yep.
I represented Great Britain in the amateurs for Muay Thai for around 8 years. And then I transitioned into professional boxing 2 years ago. And my first signing was with Mr. David Hay, which I'm really, really honored to be part of such a great team. And of course, you were part of the team, and Salas Ismail. So I had the most amazing journey transitioning into the boxing world.
I trained you for your first pro boxing fight.
Yes.
What was it like transitioning from kickboxing into boxing?
I underestimated how much work that was required, because it is two different sports. In a sense that not only the psychology is different, the foot movement, the speed, the balance, the posture, the rhythm is different. And I thought, well, I've got the fighting instinct. I'm someone who can punch hard. I've got the right attitude. I've got the discipline, the focus. I thought all of that was enough. But I underestimated that you need the motor skills, the rhythm in boxing. And that's what I've now been able to attain over the last 2 years. So I guess I was fighting out instinct in my debut, whereas now I feel like I have transitioned into boxing. So it's exciting for me to now see where I'm at in boxing and how I cope under pressure, because I feel like I have so much more tool set, whereas there I was just instinctively and being intuitive in the ring, which is very important, of course, as a fighter, but you do need the basic foundation in order to be able to have a wider range of skill set.
Yeah, so they say never judge a book by its cover, and I think that you encapsulate that more than anyone I've ever met in my life.
Thank you.
Because the first time I met you, I thought, oh my God, she doesn't sound or look like a fighter.
No.
But when you're in the ring, you're a bit of an animal. Let's face it. You love a tear up. So let's go back and start at the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your background and growing up and and where your journey basically.
Absolutely. So I come from very humble beginnings. I grew up in East London. I'm third generation in Great Britain. My grandfather initially came to London. He actually fought at the World War II. So I feel so honored and to have such a great role model in my life. So I guess that's where I get my work ethic from, and someone who's so determined, so focused, hardworking, striving for a better life. So that's what my motivation comes from, and seeing my parents really struggle and trying to give us the best life possible. So growing up, I fell in love with sports. I remember I used to watch Bruce Lee and Muhammad Ali, and I knew it was out the question for me to pursue a combat sport at that time. Being Asian, being Muslim, being female, being petite, being ethnic, all of those, financially, economically, it was out the question for me in terms of approaching my parents on top of that. So I kept that passion hidden for many years. And I remember I was at a college and there was a notice board saying, kickboxing class, and I thought, perfect. This way I can go and attend the class. I don't need to worry about financially being able to afford a session. And I'm in a school environment, it's a safe environment. I attended this session and it was the first and the last session due to the school not having enough funding. So I was almost heartbroken, stood in front of the instructor and I was like, oh, I was in tears. So he handed over his card and said, why don't you come to my gym? So I turned up at his gym and I thought, well, I can't afford £80 a month. I'm only 16 at this time. And so I went and got myself a part-time job in a chemist after school.
Amazing.
To pay for my class and to pay for my travel, because I didn't even have travel money. So I was skipping lunch at school in order to pay for my travel and then trying to save my pennies to get to the class. And then later do I know, he was in the process of selling the gym to another, I don't know where he was, selling the venue to. And so I stood there and thought, oh no, it might turn into a cash and carry or something.
Yeah.
So I was almost heartbroken again. And then I see another instructor walk in and he took over the gym. And I thought, okay, this is going to be a gym again. So really good. But I knew this person doesn't know me. This person isn't going to actually...
You're going to have to start all over again.
Yes, that I don't have that relationship to be able to just enter into his gym. So I used to then attend the gym every Sunday religiously whilst I was at university, and got myself a part-time job at JD Sports by that point. And I just fell in love with it. I love the fact that it allowed me to be present. It allowed me to let go of all my worries, all my tension, all my restrictions and restraints that I had growing up. And I was able to, for that hour and a half, I was happy. That was my happy time.
Yeah.
It gave me an escape. It gave me an outlet. So I felt that sport played a huge part in me becoming who I am. It gave me composure. It gave me calmness and being able to apply myself at university and at home, because it took me away from all these negative outputs in life.
So at that time you were about 16. I know that you were in an arranged marriage. Tell us a little bit about, because for some people that's like so out there.
Yeah.
Like they can't imagine the whole process and not being able to find someone like that person, fall in love, and then if they want to marry them, to be kind of forced into that situation. So how does that all...
I guess by looking at me now, I'm so much more confident. I've come into myself now. Whereas growing up, I was very timid, I was shy. I did everything my parents wanted me to do because that was my upbringing, that was my roots, that's all I knew at the time. And I attended university, I kept my head down. I trained in secret for 5 years because I was so afraid that my parents would take that away from me, that little bit of happiness that I had. So I never lied to them, but I just didn't reveal exactly what I was doing. So after I graduated from university, so I did architecture at university, graduated, and my parents wanted me to get married at that point. For a Bangladeshi female, that's the age, you're meant to be married, have children, start working. So I followed the traditional route, got married, and I went through severe depression, panic attacks. Yeah, it was really hard because it was a culture shock. There was so many, because I wasn't just married to the person that I was married to, I was married to the whole family.
Yeah, of course.
I was living with my in-laws, my father-in-law who had kidney failure, so he was very unhappy, my mother-in-law, the sister-in-laws, and I felt almost bullied and overwhelmed with the setting, and I didn't have that connection at that point with my family to be able to speak to them and say, I'm really unhappy. And when I did, no one really heard me. No one understood what was going on behind closed doors. I was really isolated, and I tried to be strong. Sorry.
It's okay, don't worry. Do you need a minute?
Yeah, I was trying to be strong for a long time because I believed in myself, and I thought, I'm a fighter, I'm someone who doesn't give up on life, give up on myself. So I continued to try and please everyone around me. But the expectations were unrealistic because I was caught between two worlds. One where I was a traditional daughter-in-law, daughter, sister, young Bangladeshi British Muslim woman, and on the other side I was ambitious, I was modern in my thinking, respectful but driven at the same time. So I felt like those two worlds kind of clashed, and there wasn't a bridge between those two entities. And I think what's really made me happy now, and I found myself, is the fact that I've been able to bridge that gap and still keep my roots, keep my values, keep my identity. But that took a long time, that inner battle, the inner monologue that I went through for, maybe 2 decades of my life. And it's only in the last few years I've really come into love myself and who I am and embrace the challenges that I face.
Yeah, that's amazing. It doesn't just happen to girls, to women. I know I have a very, very, very good friend of mine, and he was in an arranged marriage. He was telling me he was speaking to his dad, and his dad was kind of like, okay, no problem, you're not happy. So what? Doesn't matter. You still have to stay there. This has all been done.
Yeah.
So don't worry. It'll be fine. Just give it some time. And so I've understood it a lot more from your story and from his point of view. So it was very difficult. But I must say that when I first met you, I didn't know any of that stuff. All I just saw was just the force of nature in the ring. And it wasn't until, as we spent more and more time together training, you opened up and you told me about all this stuff, that I found it just a truly inspirational and amazing story for you to find that inner strength. Because a lot of people never find it. That's very important to say. A lot of people they go through it, they put up with it, and they put up with it for year after year after year, and then all of a sudden they're 60, 70, and it's like their whole life is gone, and it's very, very difficult to break. So you've written a book.
Yes, I have.
It's called Born Fighter. You need to get this book. It's an unbelievable story, as you can hear from Rox, and it's very, very close to your heart. The book is about your story, but what else is it about?
I think my story is, I was saying that it's so much more than boxing. The boxing is just one part of it. It highlights so many of my obstacles in terms of overcoming ME, being a female in a male-dominated world, overcoming, family and, religious boundaries. All of those elements, I feel like it's so relatable on so many levels for people from all walks of life and all backgrounds, because what they will resonate is the challenges that I faced, and it's not individual to me. I think it's, like going through a marriage or breakup or heartbreak. Those are universal problems, and this is what the book highlights, is that there is hope, and you need to become your best friend and constantly move forward, even if you fall and fail. You've seen me, fail so many times, and I'm a big believer of failing to acquire knowledge and wisdom, and that wisdom is then going to lead you to where you need to be. Most people give up on that last hurdle, and that's 80% of the population. But that last 20%, you need to keep going, and in that breaking point, you will find your break.
Yeah, and you talk about failing. You drew your first pro fight, which I thought you'd won.
And so did I.
Not being biased, but
so did Salas.
So everybody thought you'd won, but it happens in boxing.
It happens.
And then you lost your second fight.
I fought the same girl twice.
Yeah.
So a year later, that fight was rearranged because I was so confident in my heart I was going to beat her the second time round. But this girl came in. I mean, she wanted the weigh-in the night before, which the weigh-in was meant to be on the day because the promoter had it already scheduled. She was lighter than me on the weigh-in, which was very unusual, drinking a cup of coffee. And then when we jumped in that ring, she was like, oh my God, a beast, like
she was
huge.
much bigger.
And then, I remember the power, the way she fought the first time round. So I knew what to expect. I expected her to improve, but not to the extent that she did, in a sense that she was almost like a zombie in that ring. Like every time I punched her, the first time I punched her in the first fight,
you rocked her.
I thought I was going to knock her out. This time I was so much stronger, and I believed in myself. This time she didn't even blink. And I know when I hit the boys in the ring, they blink. I was in Vegas sparring, and I remember one of the boys that I was sparring with, he used to end up with a nosebleed, and his father said, no, it's no problem, keep going because you got to fight. So I knew I was hurting the boys who were trained from like the age of 4. So when I came in and I jumped in the ring with her, I just find it very unusual, that something that I've never encountered in my life before, for someone not to even blink.
Yeah.
That kind of threw me off in the first 2 rounds, and I got injured in the first 30 seconds. She elbowed me right in the eye. So I was fighting with one eye. So again, I couldn't gauge my distance. I was like, where is she? Is she closer than where she is, or is she further? It was a learning curve for me, most definitely. And these things exactly, we've spoken about this, it happens in boxing.
Yeah.
So I think I'm only going to grow from this, and I'm prepared for anything now.
Yeah,
that
and
can
absolutely.
take place.
And what a lot of people don't understand about boxing is that's why there's amateur boxing.
Yes.
So that you learn
Yes.
whilst you're an amateur.
Yes.
So that when you get into the pro ranks,
Yeah.
you don't make the same mistakes. You haven't
Sure.
had that luxury.
No.
And you can tell that, for example, the other day, Dillian White fought
Yeah.
Alexander Povetkin.
Yeah.
Dillian hasn't had the great amateur pedigree that Alexander Povetkin has.
Yeah.
Alexander
It's just
Povetkin was
experience.
Olympic champion, and he's had so it's just that experience. So credit to Dillian, he gets in the ring with the best fighters on the planet who've got a lot more experience, and he's learning on the go.
He's learning. And
So he'll make a mistake here or there, but he always gets up and comes back stronger. So
I think with boxing, obviously, you can never tell what happens, and I think what Alexandra did was just that shot, that massive uppercut, and he caught him by surprise, and that just happens. I don't think he did anything wrong as such overall. It was just really good technique from Alexandra Povetkin. And I think this is why the boxing fans love boxing so much, because especially with heavyweight, you never know what's going to happen. It's so exciting.
So you're learning on the job.
I am.
And I'm guessing you learn a lot from your spars, because they almost become like amateur fights.
Yeah.
Obviously, a very, very strong woman, very, very strong woman. How do you, on a day-to-day, cope mentally? Mental health is now such a huge issue, and it's been recognized as a huge part of everyone's life, and everyone has ups and downs throughout the day and throughout the week and months and years. How do you motivate yourself, first of all, on a day-to-day basis, and then how do you cope when you're down?
This is a really, really good question, because obviously, as you know, boxing is, I would say, in my opinion, 80% mental. You could win a battle before you've even walked into the ring, or lose a battle, in fact.
With yourself.
With myself, exactly. You are your biggest opponent and critic, and your biggest enemy at the same time. You can self-destruct yourself. And this is why that mental positivity, attitude, and your perspective in life is so important. And if you have negative things happening, you just have to reassign different meaning to it to empower you. And this is a constant work. This is an ongoing, constant work within yourself. I think man has to conquer himself before they conquer anything else. Your inwards is going to reflect outwards. So the moment you change how you feel about something inwards, that person is going to change towards you, or that circumstance is going to change, or you'll attract the right people, right circumstances into your world. So it's so important to be able to be your own best friend. And believe me, it's not easy, because I have to constantly reassure myself, really challenge myself mentally every single day to be positive, to have that mental diet where I'm not allowing, because you choose to feel a certain way, you choose to let certain thoughts enter into your mind, and how long you dwell on that thought. So if I'm feeling it in a negative way, I will quickly shift that thought into something positive, or something that I've really a memorable moment or an achievement that I felt so proud of myself. So that shifts my energy back to a positive energy. And when you're on that receptive mode, you will attract more positivity.
Right, exactly.
But if you're in that negative mode, it will constantly attract negativity. So this is something that I think is an ongoing thing with all of us. We're not the finished article. We're constantly progressing and evolving, and life is about finding who you are, and situations only reveal to you who you are.
And it's very important for people to realize in general that everyone has those little voices of doubt. Everyone,
100%.
no matter if it's David Hay, Usain Bolt, Lewis Hamilton, whoever. Everyone has that little voice sometimes that pops up unexpectedly, and it's how you deal with that. You know, I remember I was about to do my my first public speaking role, which was I'd spoken publicly before, but not to this, you know, level of an audience. And there were about 1,500, 2,000 people in the audience, and it was for Adidas. They'd asked me to come along and speak about wellness and nutrition and that kind of stuff. And just before I went out, I was really nervous, and this was a few years ago. And I thought, why am I so nervous? And then I looked inwardly, and I could hear the little voice saying, "Oh my God, you're going to make a fool of yourself on stage, and you better run off now. Don't worry, give the money back. No one's going to care. You know, just don't get on that stage." And at that moment, I turned in, and the voice was over here somewhere, and I turned to it and I said, "I'm getting on stage with or without you."
Yes.
You know, and I'd rather you just shut the hell up. And let me get on with what I want to do.
It's that self-talk, and how you counter those the thoughts that you have occurring.
So. And I must say, that voice has never come back.
Amazing.
You know,
it's
so
because you confronted your fear.
Yeah, you have to. You have to. And no matter if it's in the ring or it's with yourself or it's with someone else. And I think you've done that so many times.
I'm telling you, I'm afraid every single time. You've seen me as I'm about to walk in, you know, do my ring walk and sit in the changing room. It's that anticipation. The nerves creep in, but it's how you handle it. And for me, it's meditation, prayer, and just believing that, you know, this is an opportunity and chance that allows me to, if I can come out in the other side, I've already won. It doesn't matter what the results or outcome is. It's given me, I've conquered myself and my own fears. And you're right, once you confront your fears, it doesn't chase you. But if you keep running away, life will chase you.
Yeah, of course,
until you confront that.
So you suffered with ME.
I did.
Still got it? Not so much?
I think I've become so good at managing my condition now because, like you said, it's all about well-being, being positive, being healthy in your outlook to life. I think staying away from stress. And what that means is just cutting people that are negative or draining you or don't have the best interests at heart for you. Just learning to be in a room full of positivity and people who inspire you. And those kind of moments, like when I got signed by WKA, I'll be honest, I think that's when my ME slowly just went away, because I was in a room full of amazing, inspirational, talented, ambitious people, and the energy just lifted my energy. And what that showed me was, actually, I can conquer this. When you have an illness, it's not for life. You can heal yourself from within, and that's what I managed to do. So,
and you know, I know from my own personal experience that when a lot of the time, not always, but a lot of the time, when something manifests itself physically within your body, it's something mental trying to speak to you. And you know, a lot of doctors say, no, that's rubbish and all the rest of it. But just from my own experience and from speaking to other people, that's usually the case. And normally when you confront your fears or you do something which you were afraid of and all the rest of it, that condition a lot of the time disappears. So
because we tend to suppress those fears or feelings or insecurity or doubt. Some sort of, if we're suppressing it, that will then manifest into some sort of disease, whether it's back pain or stress or headaches, and then that will attract more disease. So you need to catch it straight away and diffuse it and neutralize that.
And that's where knowing yourself is so important. Mentally, you say that you dealt with ME because of your outlook in life and all the rest of it. Nutritionally, what have you done?
I mean, it all plays a huge part. It's not one thing, it's everything. It's being positive, being around people that inspire you, people that are, you know, just genuinely good people in your life. They don't need to inspire you, but they could just be good people that support you on your journey. Eating well, sleeping, rest, exercising, just having a happy life, like feeling positive about yourself, whether that's going, taking up baking or going for a run, it doesn't matter what you do. It's about how it makes you feel.
Yeah.
And I've been able to do that through boxing because it mentally stimulates me just as much as it challenges me physically. And that's what I love. It allows me to be present. And when you're present, you're living every single second of your life to the max.
What did you have for breakfast, for example?
Today I had tea and a naan bread, like just butter and toast.
Okay. And is that normally what you have? Do you do that before you go training, or?
Usually I'd have like 2 boiled eggs, maybe a little bit of smoked salmon, and maybe 1 toast.
Okay.
So something that would give me energy, or an omelette, and then after training. So everything's really structured.
Yeah, because you have to stay at weight.
Yes. So the weight is the biggest thing for me. So I try and stick to my healthy routine. I do have a sweet tooth, as you know, so I love indulging in cakes and chocolate. So I try and limit that and give myself a treat every now and then. And when I make a promise to myself, I will reward myself, because it's nice to show that love to yourself.
Yeah, of course. I had a severe sweet tooth. Yeah, I'm not ashamed to admit. When I was young, I used to sit there with those big foot-long chocolate bars of Milka with all the hazelnuts and stuff. And I used to go through the whole thing, and I was like, oh no, it's okay, don't worry, I'll burn it off in a minute. But I was 15, 16, and I had no idea of the repercussions.
Yes.
And the inflammation I was causing in my body and stuff.
The mood swings.
Yeah, exactly.
The fatigue.
But now, the other day, because I don't have a sweet tooth anymore, because through nutrition and the things that I know now, I don't have it. I went around to my mum's, and she gave me a coffee with 1 teaspoon of honey, and I couldn't drink it. The sugar my body just didn't want it.
No.
So you can reverse it.
Absolutely.
But like you say, once in a while, just do whatever makes you happy. So if you feel like having a chocolate cake or whatever, just have it.
I agree. Because for me, I've been on this strict routine for like 10 years of my life, because I was fighting doing Muay Thai. But it's become part of my life now. I actually enjoy eating healthy. I don't crave those nasty foods anymore, or fast foods anymore. I love a grilled sea bass or a grilled chicken breast. So for me, you can change your palate.
Absolutely.
And I absolutely agree. Like now, if I have a little bit of chocolate, I feel like it doesn't taste good, and it's just too much sugar, that you just feel very unsteady.
So I've got a question for you.
Go on.
So you've had this amazing journey throughout your life, and we were mentally so strong and spiritually so strong to be able to get yourself out of the situation and create your life. If a younger version of yourself is now listening to this, because it's not unique, there are so many people in your position, you've just been able to elevate yourself. What would you say to that young girl or young man?
For me, the biggest thing that I had in my first, say, 25 years of my life, I didn't have confidence and self-belief. I had all the talent, but I didn't believe in myself. I was constantly looking for validation and reassurance from my coaches, from my teammates, for a fight to go really well, and then I'd get validation. And what I've realized now is that I don't need validation from anyone else. As long as I'm happy with where I am in my life and with the outcome, it's okay. I don't need someone else to tell me how they feel about my achievements and my journey. And that's what I would say, because that makes the biggest change. Because you are in your element, then you look after yourself, and that will inspire so many people to find who they are and be their own best friend.
Okay, amazing advice. You've written your book.
Yes.
Tell us about the process of writing a book, because I believe everyone can write a book, because everyone's got a story to tell.
Yes.
But not everyone does that because of many different obstacles, and maybe that's not something they want to do, but you've done that and very successfully. So tell us about the process of writing the book. How did it all start?
I remember when I first became a British champion, it was unknown and unheard of someone from my background to become a champion. And I truly felt that I could inspire people and give them a voice. And of course, I came through, at the time, through the arranged marriage. So I knew, people from my background could really benefit from the struggles that I faced and give them hope. In terms of finding who they are, and that if you go through an arranged marriage, it doesn't mean you're scarred for life. It's just a momentary thing. It's a temporary feeling at that time that I just felt a little bit lost. So that's where my true passion came from about writing my book. And I remember I approached several writers at the time because I felt that my English wasn't strong enough. And I'm dyslexic as well.
Okay.
So so I even though I have a degree in architecture, I felt that it's not the content, it's more about grammar and punctuation. And what they came back to me was, well, you're not Katie Price.
Yeah.
And I thought,
well, obviously not.
So I don't have a profile like Katie Price. I don't have a TV documentary married to Peter Andre at the time. So I kept getting rejected. And I still believed in my story because I knew it wasn't about, me writing a book. It was about sharing my story to empower women from all backgrounds, all walks of life. And I achieved something that no one had done at that time. So I really wanted to inspire people. So I kept pursuing my dream. And then later on, of course, I became world champion in 2016. And the book was still at the back of my head. So I approached a few more people. And again, nothing really came out of it. And eventually, I guess I found the right fit. I approached Sarah Shepherd, who was my ghostwriter. And she said, yes, she'll be on board. Her agent approached a couple of publishing houses. And again, we got rejected 5 times.
Yeah.
And I said to myself one day, and I remember specifically, vividly, that day there was no trains, there was a strike going on. And I said, I'm going to walk into Sarah's office and I'm going to say to her that let's just do it ourselves. I'll back the finance and she can help me write it. So I actually walked into Covent Garden to her office that day. It took me like 2 hours and sat with her, had a cup of coffee, and I said, Sarah, I'm happy to do this. And, because I believe that much that it should be out there. It should be a story that needs to be told. And she said to me, Ruqsana, okay, let's try one more person. And then she approached a different agent who went back to Simon & Schuster, who were our initial publishing house, and they accepted our story. It was a different pitch. And I guess the way it was told, perhaps, was that it's not just the fact that I'm a sportswoman. I'm a woman. I'm a daughter. I've overcome so many of these obstacles that many people face, and they need a little bit of guidance or words of wisdom. And I was able to share that through my story.
Amazing. And I don't know if you've heard about WKA Rowling.
Oh yes, she got rejected.
She got
13
rejected.
times.
I don't know how many times, and then it only took for someone to read her book and go, oh yeah, this is amazing, and the rest is history. So she'll never give up.
This is why I truly believe when you have a vision, people around you may not always see it at that present time, such as someone like Muhammad Ali or even Einstein. They were seen at a certain stage in their life, they were seen as a little bit eccentric, a little bit crazy. But later on, we look at these people as inspirational role models and inspirational figures, and they were so ahead of their time in their thinking and in their concepts and ideas and ideologies that we get to appreciate today. So you should never be afraid of having a vision that might be a little bit out there and that people may not be able to accept it and see your vision at the time.
Exactly. So being a boxer is hard because you have to work, especially when people see the boxers making millions. They don't understand the journey to get there. It's kind of like similar to journeys for footballers, I guess, where they're poor, they have nothing to eat for many years, and then all of a sudden they make it, but they still are not getting paid well. And it's not until...
But it's only selected few that really get that limelight.
Yeah, and then also, eventually, if they're good enough and they stay injury-free for long enough, they get a good contract, and then the rest is history. Same with boxers. There's only money right at the top, especially if you've got a belt.
Yeah.
Then
Absolutely.
you're okay. So you survive from working and also
Yeah.
sponsorships. So with sponsorships, tell us a little bit about what that's like.
I mean, it's been a long journey, and when you spoke about injuries, straight away I remembered, I fractured my leg, I tore my rotator cuff, I broke my ribs twice, and this was all in Thai boxing. Boxing, suffered a number of concussions, so it's really difficult and challenging to be a sports person and then to work and perform at peak level. So sponsorship is essential part of you getting to your destination, and that really plays a huge part in your mental attitude, just to be able to relax and not worry about the other aspects of your life and just focus on what is at hand in your goal. So it's been a challenging journey. I mean, I was really, I'll tell you a story. I went to Vegas through my own backing because I believed in myself. And I was thinking, oh no, there's no fight lined up for me. And I was about to come back to London, and I sat there and I was just praying to God, and I was saying, God, I need this because I need to finance another camp in order to generate momentum for another fight now. And I sat there and I cried because I was so heartbroken that journey's come to an end and I haven't been able to acquire a fight. And I remember Salah said to me, go home and pray. And I did that. I kneeled down, and the next morning I got a call from my agent saying, Ruqsana, Adidas loves you. They want to do something with you. And I thought, thank you, God. So I was already in the running for a casting. So I came back to London, and they did their homework. They said, Ruqsana, we absolutely love you. You go hand in hand with our values. And to me, that was one of the highest moments of my life, that someone else aligned their values with mine. And I was truly, truly, thankful and humble and blessed to be able to have such a big brand as Adidas working with me. And that, honestly, that trip, doing a campaign for them, then enabled me to be able to reinvest in my training.
Absolutely.
But those kind of opportunities don't come every day. I was so fortunate at that moment that, we aligned ourselves together.
But it's hugely important, but everything's about synchronicity. So I remember Michael Jordan saying that he was a massive fan of Adidas, and I think at the time,
and then he got with Nike.
He was being sponsored by Adidas, and he wanted to create his own brand, Jordan, but with Adidas. And they kept saying, no, it's not going to work. It's not going to work. Then Nike came along and said, we love you. We think that will work. And then the rest is history, I'm a firm believer that sometimes when something happens, people get really down and they say, oh no, this has happened and it's not how I envisaged it, but that's not necessarily what was going to be the best for you. So, it's hugely important. You also, as with everyone, myself included, I've been a little bit resistant to social media in the past. What's social media like for you? I mean, I have a young boxer who I manage and train called Oliver Edwards, that you know. And he said that he, for long periods of his life, he used to wake up and look at his phone immediately and scroll for hours before he'd get out of bed. What's social media like for you?
Okay, so I mean, I find social media, and there's so many distractions in the world anyway, and everyone wants your attention, whether it's social media, friends, family, people out there, the advertisement, that's all designed to take away your attention, you being present and being aligned. So for me, I control myself with social media, but it can be a huge distraction, and mentally can really affect you, because even when I'm scrolling down and I see women who are stunning, and I'm thinking, I'm a confident person, even I'm intimidated. So I can only imagine what these young girls who are teenagers, how they feel, that there's a certain expectation to look a certain way and behave a certain way, or to own a certain outfit. I see my little niece, who's only 8, she does all these TikTok dances, and she wants to dress with those crop tops and show a certain part of her physique. And I just think, wow, I didn't have that when I was growing up.
Yeah.
You know, I saw the world. This is why I'm so grateful that I saw the world transition from, you know, playing in the parks and being present and being told off for coming home too late, to now these kids don't go to the park. They don't know how to play. They don't know how to interact. They don't have communication skills. All they do is they're interacting through social media. They're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, and it can have a real negative effect, because as humans we should be able to be around one another. We should have social presence and social skills. So I try and limit myself how much social media influence that I'm receiving, because it is an influence and it's a choice.
Yeah.
So I tend to post something, you know, a couple of times a week, just to keep the interest rising so people can see what I'm up to and follow my journey. But to me, it's not really a huge part of my life. I'm someone who loves to be present and really engage with you on a face-to-face level, rather than through, you know, a text message that can be so misconstrued and misunderstood. Because you don't hear someone's tone, you don't see the facial expression, you don't hear the inclination of your voice or the body language, which plays actually 80% of your delivery.
Yeah, and you know what, one thing that people don't realize as well, a lot of people don't realize with social media, is I trained a social media star. And she then went on to become a model, and she modeled for Victoria's Secret. And one thing that I admired about this girl was, first, she trained like an athlete. Amazing. She trained incredibly hard. The first time I trained her, I threw everything at her, and she got through it.
Amazing.
And I thought, okay, respect. She had a photographer, and they told me they would take about 10,000 pictures a day.
Okay.
And out of those 10,000 pictures, they would pick one picture, and then they'd have to airbrush it and make it look amazing. And that's what went into
behind the scenes,
her social media. So when you look at her, credit, she looks exactly like she does in about 99% as she does in real life. She looks in pictures, but she works incredibly hard. So she was working like 8 hours, 10 hours a day on that. So when people look at that, they shouldn't think, oh, I need to look like that. There's a purpose for her behind that. And then the thing that made me give up the other day was, I have a friend who's relatively in good shape, and I saw him. He asked me to take a picture, so I took a picture, and then of his with no top on. Then he spent 5 minutes messing around on his phone and came back, and he said, "What do you think?" And I went, "That's not how you look."
Oh my God.
He's got an app that changes his abs.
Oh my Lord.
And can make him more ripped and all this stuff. And I thought, what are you doing?
I think
it's false advertising.
Yeah, this is the thing that I feel like, if you look at my social media, when I train, I have no makeup on. I'm just me. And I guess this is the portrayal that I want to, you know, convey through my social media.
You're keeping a balance.
Yeah, I just want to be organic. Like, I love being a girl. I love wearing heels and makeup. Not, you know, not extreme makeup, just now and then. But when I'm training, I want to be in my zone. I want to be in my element. It is all about training. And that's what's misrepresented through these filters and apps, where the girls are so insecure about their own looks. They need to put these filters on to show that they've got mascara on, or, you know, contouring on their face. And that's not what I want to really portray through my images. I want young girls and women to feel empowered by who they are and what their achievements are and how they carry themselves, rather than feeling insecure, because these kind of apps make you feel insecure because you're not looking as glamorous and you're not keeping up with everyone else. You know, if you don't look a certain way.
Real life gets in the way. Okay, Rox, thank you so much for the interview. It was very, very insightful, very, very, one of the best interviews I think I've heard.
Oh, thank you.
And if you've not already got it, I'm going to plug your book.
Yes.
Born Fighter by Rox. You can get this in Amazon.
Amazon or Waterstones.
Or Waterstones. Go down and get your copy. It's an amazing read. So well done. And now we're going to do a little bit of a fitness test.
Excellent.
You said before that you're in shape, so we're going to see. So we're going to do some chins or
COVID
pull-ups.
shape.
Okay, COVID shape. Yeah. Chins or pull-ups.
Okay.
A broad jump and a 1 minute row. and see where you
Fantastic.
place on the leaderboard.
All right, let's do
Okay,
it.
let's do this.
Let's do it.
Minboso is all about mind, body and soul. For more exclusive content, like, subscribe, click on the link below, above. Do your thing. Any questions, direct message us and see you there.